Hey, do you know what I'm looking at right now? Cells. Cells are the basic building blocks of life in every organism. And did you know that cells can be used to repair different damages done to the body or fight against different diseases? Yes, it is known as stem cell therapy, also known as regenerative medicine. It promotes the repair response of diseased, dysfunctional, or injured tissue using stem cells or their derivatives. Is the next chapter in organ transplantation and uses cells instead of donor organs, which are limited in supply. Now, a lot of people have been skeptical about this new technique, but I, for one, think it has potential of being a new form of medicine that can help millions, if not billions, of people fight against diseases. This is the pros of stem cell therapy. Well, the first thing we have to think about is stem cell therapy might actually be a safer alternative to surgery. For example, you can avoid the risk of surgical interventions by using stem cells. Surgery is rife with complications, as many victims of malpractice can attest. In addition, there is a risk of infection, and if the procedure fails, additional surgery may be required. Risks associated with anesthesia are also removed with stem cells. Best of all, stem cells are harvested from your own body in a place where they are needed to be replaced. Because they come from your body, we refer this as autologous therapy. Autologous therapies are the safest around since there's no risk of donor material rejection. If we can somehow get around the harvestation of stem cells and find a way for a more ethical and safer way for it to be harvested, we can actually have a safer alternative to surgeries. We have less surgery malpractices, be less risks, and maybe even a cheaper alternative. But Marcus, there are also ethical concerns that are with stem cells, such as playing God and how they're harvested. Well, let me tell you that that used to be true in the past with the stem cell techniques we used in the early days, but now it's all changed. Well, let me give you a short summary. How stem cells used to work. Early stem cell research was centered around the use of embryonic stem cell lines. Embryos contain large quantities of potent stem cells which can be transformed to nearly any kind of tissue. While these showed great promise for a number of health problems, they were also highly controversial. Embryos had to be destroyed in order to retrieve the cells, which many saw as equivalent to taking a life. What the result was, this forced scientists to look for new alternatives, and though they had previously argued that embryonic stem cells had capacities that adult stem cells had entirely lost, after the 2001 ban of this practice, were forced to admit to being wrong. Adult stem cells actually retain much of the ability to become whatever cells your body needs. Today's stem cell treatments do not involve the use of embryos and are being derived from your own body. They're completely ethical and safe to use. What is this new technique, Marcos? Well, it's called mesenchymal stem cells. They employ the mesenchymal stem cells, or MSCs. MSCs can be found in your bone marrow and fatty tissues. Although they're not pluripotent, they're still considered multipotent. Multipotent stem cells can transform into several different kinds of cells, including bone, cartilage, muscle, and fat cells. MSCs also stimulate the nearby cells producing growth factors, which tell healthy cells to divide and also mark damaged cells for removal. This means that we can harvest them from your tissue and inject them into a damaged area. The area will improve over time as the MSCs multiply and influence the other cells at the site. But Marcus, isn't it a bit painful as you get from your bone marrow? Well, yes, but it's much more ethical than destroying a bunch of embryos. We can't really remove all the pain from a therapy that can potentially save billions of lives because there has to be sacrifices and compromise in every therapy. We can't create the perfect therapy, but we can create a better therapy, better alternative for these people to do. Now, although it might be questionably expensive at early times, we can actually reduce the cost. Similar with how vaccines used to be expensive and exclusive for people, we can actually find efficient alternative ways to do stem cell therapy which can be available to the general public. Now, remember how I was telling you stem cells can be a more efficient matter to help replace surgery and other related medical practices? Well, stem cells bring versatility to the table. What's great about stem cells is that they can be used for a wide number of applications. That number continues to grow as medical students return promising results. Even now, many of the applications of stem cells are becoming more efficient as doctors discover new ways to maximize their benefits. Just to name a few things you can do help is ligament repair. Ligaments are notoriously difficult to treat. Options are either undergo surgery or simply rest as long as possible. Due to their location, they do not tend to get a lot of blood flow, which is important for healing. Injecting stem cells in the area surrounding the damaged ligament can speed up recovery significantly. It can also help joint issues. Arthritis has always been proved difficult to treat since cartilage does not normally renew itself when damaged. Applying stem cells to your joint regenerates cartilage and reduces pain by stopping inflammation. Third, nerve injuries and disorders like joint damage, nerve damage has always been difficult to repair actually. Even when nerves are reattached after an accident, scar tissue impedes the transfer signals from their brain. This can result in chronic pain and poor motor function. Nowhere are the effects of nerve damage more evident than in spinal cord injuries, which may leave the people permanently damaged. Many of these disorders are congenital and degenerative, meaning prognosis is usually bleak. However, promising results have been seen with stem cell treatments. Degeneration can be slowed down or even reversed, prolonging a patient's life, improving their quality of life significantly. It can also be used to help spinal disc problems, lung disease, and muscle recoveries. And these are just some of the things that have been discovered recently. Imagine if we had more research, more time, and maybe near to the future, it can be proved as a all-in-one tool to help solve these common diseases that are common yet very complicated to solve. It could act as that bridge to finally help people in different ways. We must be open into this new kind of therapy in order to move faster into the future. Like imagine if you told somebody 50 years ago, 60 years ago, that the only thing to help you fight against the virus is to inject you the virus itself. They think we're crazy. Well, fast forward to the present, it's now called the vaccine. It's helping us fight against the coronavirus. Similar can be said to stem cell therapy. If we give it enough time to develop and practice and make it into a safer, more efficient method, I believe this can be used to help billions of people fight against diseases or repair diseases that are already within them. And my final point is that it can be a faster treatment and recovery and also a healthier treatment. Another advantage of stem cell therapy is how easy it is to administer. Stem cells must first be harvested, and two primary options are to extract them from bone marrow or fat tissue. This process doesn't add much time to the overall therapy. Now, bone marrow extractors usually occur on top of the hip or femur, which large bones rich in MSCs can be found. However, fat tissue extraction is quickly becoming preferred as it can be done quickly and the process is less invasive. A simple incision and short lip suction can provide enough stem cells to use in therapy. When the cells gather, they can be then applied. Now the treatment time. Treatment time is greatly reduced compared to surgical options. Surgery can take several hours and you will need to be prepared for surgery beforehand. On the other hand, stem cell applications can take as little as half an hour. The cells are injected into the treatment area. Some local anesthetic is applied first to ensure you feel no pain from the injection. To spend more time waiting for the anesthetic to work and actually receiving the therapy. And another thing is recovery time. Saving time before and during the treatment is nice, but even better, saving time is after. Surgical recovery times can be measured in months, while stem cell therapy Orlando has essentially no recovery time at all. You're gonna walk out of the clinic within moments and be on your way home in time for dinner. Skip the costly hospital stays and post-op medications. After treatment, you should start to see improvements within the next few weeks. The benefits from stem cells accumulate over time, with patients seeing improvement as the year progresses. Some even notice further improvements in the second year. Follow-up treatment can enhance this even more. I was saying it's healthier treatment is because it has less dependence on medication. Now, chronic pain can be used by conditions we treat is due to need help in using medication. Excessive prescription of opiates to relieve pain has tragically cost many individuals their lives due to addiction. Medication doesn't cure, it only makes the problems easier to ignore. We don't see this as a substantial way to solve your problems. Now, the type of medication I'm talking about is not the one that helps cure therapies, but the one that seems to reduce the pain. Now, although it acts like a band-aid solution, it only numbs the pain for a few hours, like 4 to 6. But then after a few hours, it starts to come back. You start to rely on this form of medication, and some even develop a drug addiction. And this medication can even cause health problems as well. And stem cell therapy, I'd like to add, is a less invasive treatment, not the risk of surgery and damage that causes. You can cover naturally using your body's own mechanisms. Utilizing your natural healing processes is clearly better than surgical intervention, which is why we all consider surgery as a last resort. No one denies that surgery works, but it should not be the first line of defense. If we're able to finally master stem cell therapy, it gives a greater potential. And there's also the cost savings part because, as I said earlier, we don't have to rely on that much medication after stem cell therapy, and maybe even none. And this can help reduce costs significantly as we don't have to stay in hospitals anymore after. We're going directly out of the treatment center after stem cell therapy. So in the long run, it's cheaper to go stem cell therapy. You can find more efficient methods of doing this kind of therapy. So to conclude my opinion, guys, on stem cell therapy, I think it's really important that we take this into consideration and really stand with it. Now, like any medical technique or practice, it has its flaws in the present. It hasn't really been perfected to the point that it can be used commercially for everyone. But we have to think long term of these new technologies and devices that are being introduced to us, and one is stem cell therapy. This technique or practice could potentially save billions of lives if we just look into it and wait for it in the future. Now, it's better to actually try to see its potential and actually shut it down. Because if we shut it down, we're immediately closing the door. And meanwhile, if we're waiting for its potential, seeing what we could improve, it could potentially be a really key thing for us in the medical field in the future. So the flaws are something to work on, but the potential is there. Advantages are there. The pros are there. They're too heavy to ignore, and I really stand by stem cell therapy as long as it's efficient. We make it more convenient for others to get, and we make it safer and ethical for everyone. So that's what I stand by for stem cell therapy. Thank you.